Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Ahmed again, and today we would be talking about the IFIC exam, which is the Investment Fund in Canada exam. And most of the time, you find people who want to take up a mutual fund representative role, write this exam, or for people who want to get a banking advisor role. It's also like pretty important because without being a banking advisor, you cannot, progress into becoming a financial advisor and becoming a financial planner. There is a process to it. You have to like go through it like all the way in terms of work experience in the relevant industry as well as the necessary certification. So it's very important to get into the job. It's very important to get into the job, and you know it's very important to get into the job and as early as possible with this necessary certification. So yeah, there's that. And obviously, and this website is one of those websites. IFSC is one of the major partners that is in charge of conducting this certification course and exam. So there's IFSC, there's Moody. So with this, you can create an account. I used this because it happened to be cheaper than the Moody website. So with this one, I could just get a text document for the course. I read it through. It was about 412 pages, 11 units, and yeah, I was done and I was ready for my exam. Yeah, so let me just take you through. Let me quickly take you through, the registration process. You click on this if you need to register. You click on this if you need to register. Once you have your account, you can just log in, and then you can launch this course. So by launching the course, it's going to show you this, tell you about the nature, the formula for the exam, how many units, how long the exam is for. The exam is for 3 hours. The minimum requirement is for you to have a 60% pass mark. If you need to find out more information about the exam, you can click on that here button. So the reason you can see that all of this has been ticked is because I've taken those practice exams. I've taken those practice questions while I was studying, and there's also a final practice exam at the bottom here. You can see it, and it has 100 questions in it. That is different. Those questions are different from all of the individual questions in this quiz pack. So the advantage of this is that you can simulate an exam condition under 3 hours and try to write it, and afterwards do your revision together with all of what you've studied and the previous quizzes you've taken. And once you're done with that, I can guarantee you that if you've been doing pretty well, scoring consistently, say about a 7/10 across all the various segments while you were studying, I can guarantee you that you should be fine during the course of the exam. One way or the other, you would be fine. The main thing is make sure that you manage your time well during the course of the exam. It's not so bad. I think one advice I might give you, if you are not so good with if your calculations are not so great, maybe because you do not have an accounting or finance background, what I would say is that once the exam starts, go after questions that are not calculation based at first. I mean, first of all, go after questions that do not depend on calculations. So with that, you can just attack those questions, do all of those, skip questions, note them down on the cheat sheet. So there's a scrap sheet on the top of the page. You are not allowed to use a physical calculator on your table if you are writing the online version. I wrote the online version, so you are not allowed to have a calculator on your desk. You are not allowed to have a paper on your desk, just your laptop and your webcam. Your surroundings will be screened every now and then from time to time, so make sure that there's nothing implicating around your desk. If you're writing it in an exam center, obviously no one's going to allow you bring a calculator in if it is not required. If it's a paper-based test at an exam center, yes, it will be required. But in Thunder Bay, for example, where I wrote this exam or where I am at the moment, there is no exam center that I know of. So I used the OnView by Pearson, which made me write it online. It was a proctored exam online, so there was a supervisor online that was looking at me through the webcam, and required me to screen my surroundings, front, back, left, um right, and everything like that, all before I started, and sometimes a little bit in between. So in terms of time, I think your time should be fine, but one of the ways to manage your time best is to make sure that you attack those theoretical questions first. Once you're done with them, move on. Once you've picked the answer you think is best, move on. If you feel you need to come back to a question, you can click on the review button. Click on review so that by the time you are done, you can review, click on review so that all questions that you clicked on review for will pop up. Then you can start attacking those questions one after the other. So for example, you have 3 hours. Let's say you solve all your short answer questions within, they're all MCQs anyways, but let's say they are theoretical questions that are a bit simpler because they're in words. So it mostly come as painting a scenario. So they can say something like, um, Jesse is 45 years old and he intends to save for retirement. His current income is $100,000 per year. Um, what kind of investment do you think is best for Jesse at this point in time of his life? So you consider all factors that you typically consider when trying to recommend a suitable investment to your client. And this consideration starts from the level of risk that you think Jesse um, is willing to tolerate. Part of the KYC process is that Jesse himself you must have asked him questions that would make him mention something about his risk tolerance and his capacity to withstand losses. So all of those factors must come together for you to be able to determine a suitable investment or a suitable investment product to recommend to Jesse. Now, of course, you pick the best option there and then you move on. Now, I think when I wrote mine, sometimes this month, like about a week back from about a week back, that was maybe on the 7th. No, I think on the 8th of July. Um, when I wrote the exam, it was mostly scenario based questions, but the scenarios were understandable and simple. So do not fidget unnecessarily because you are seeing some articles and subsections. They don't really pop up as much. So you might not want you I don't think you should be terrified at those sections, and just pick up the necessary sections, subsections. For example, the part that covers registration of mutual fund dealers or mutual fund representatives, rather the part that is the section or the segment that is responsible for ethical conduct of mutual fund representatives, and there may be like just like 1, 2, 3. With those, I think you should be fine to a large extent. So um yeah, there's that, and like I said, they are mostly scenario-based questions. Then a couple of calculations. The calculations are simple. I think some of the questions where I mixed a little bit up, or they had to have been in maybe like tax and a little bit in mostly tax. And one of the things you want to watch out for in tax is the reason I say I should have gotten more, but some questions wasted my time because they were calculations and I just omitted something in between. Now, one of the things you want to notice the likes of the rate of capital gains, the rate that is applicable for capital gains in Canada, which is 50%. So 50% of your capital gains or your capital loss is going to be applied, which you then use to charge your tax at the marginal rate. You want to be sure that you know the difference between the deductions, like tax benefits that lead to deductions, which is going to contribute towards a lower income and a possible lower tax bracket. That is different from when you have a tax credit. A tax credit is in form of a refund that could either come back to you into your pocket if it is refundable, or non-refundable where it is only applied to reduce your actual tax liability. Now, to reduce your tax liability, that is different from reducing your taxable income. So know the difference. During the course of your study, you might have seen it, but pay attention to it. They are two different things, and don't mix them up. So the application of that, you are going to see it in a, you could see it in a question, and don't mix it up. I think there was a question where I was treating the $200 tax credit as a deduction. So it kept wasting my time because I couldn't find the answer. Only to later realize, after I just reviewed it, I clicked on review button, and then I continued with the other questions. And then when I came back, I then remembered that, oh, I thought I was seeing a tax credit. I did not know that. I forgot that it was actually a deduction. So I applied it as a deduction, and then I got the correct answer. Funny enough, the answer turned out to be the same thing like what I earlier calculated, just that what I calculated earlier was something around it, but wasn't perfect. But it's not going to always be like that. There are some cases where the answer will be pretty different. So watch out for that. Also, one of the things you probably want to, watch out for is going to be what's it called? Being familiar with exchange rate calculation. There are times when if for example they ask you, oh, Tina, invests in a global equity fund in the United States, and let's say she invested an equivalent of $10,000 last year, and she now wants to, she there's a return on investment of 18%, which means that she should be getting 118,000 US dollars back. The question could say, how much in Canadian dollars is she meant to receive if there is a load, if there's a deferred sales charge of, let's say, 1%. Deferred sales charge is going to mean that over time, if she liquidates the investment earlier than the fund requires her, there will be some sort of charge. So let's say the deferred sales charge has a planned period of 5 years, but you decide to liquidate in year 3, and by year 3 the applicable deferred sales charge rate is, let's say, 1%. So they apply that on top of to deduct. So that will leave you at 17% instead of 18% income. You now have about 17% because of the 1% charge going to deferred sales. It could be applicable to anything, So now that you have 117,000, the question could now say, okay, so how much in Canadian dollars are you supposed to receive if the exchange rate of $1 is 1.5 Canadian dollars? So you just have multiplied it directly, but the question might not come to you that direct. It could say, if the question could say, how much are you going to receive in Canadian dollars if 1 Canadian dollars is 0.75 USD? In that kind of case, you just want to automatically know that, because you're not getting it directly. You want to calculate the equivalent in Canadian dollars, but what the exchange rate that you were given is the other way around. So what you just do, just flip it. Just say 1 divided by 0.75. You get the applicable rate for you to just multiply the amount that she has made in US dollars, which is $117,000. Multiply it like that, and then you are good to go. Just pay attention to some of those little things here and there. I would say that the calculations are not so technical, so do not fidget. Just pay attention. You can actually pass the exam without being scared excessively about calculations. I think they are just pretty simple calculations. You might need to calculate current yield for either treasury bills or a bond. The current yield for a treasury bill, the formula is in your study pack. It's pretty straightforward. Just pay attention and practice questions. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah, so what else can I remember? Yeah, pay attention also to the way the taxation of the tax calculation or the tax implication of dividend income on investments. So when a client earns dividend income, how does it get taxed? There's the subject of gross up and dividend tax credits being applied on the income that was grossed up. So pay attention to that as well it could be in your question because it was in my set of questions. Um, just understand it, and you don't have to cram the marginal rate. The marginal rate that you would need will be provided, but what you need to know is if for example Canada has a policy of 18%, 18%, 18% as a way to charge dividend income, and they have a 50% rate to charge capital gains. Just make sure that you pay attention to those kind of things, because those ones do not change except um, things have significantly changed. So what you really need to pay attention to are those major policies, while for the minor policies, for example, marginal rate, it's very likely that marginal rate is going to be changed every year. Sometimes, even if it is not changed every year, the tax bracket is going to be changed every year. Say, for example, in 2022 or 2020, let's say in 2023, the marginal rate, the lowest marginal rate is 15% for income lower than $50,000. But maybe next year they decide to increase the lowest tax bracket from anything less than $60,000 is applied at 15%. You see why it's difficult to just cram that. When you get on the job, you can always look up the rate and be more familiar with when government makes changes, and it just becomes part of your daily routine. you know uh yeah, so also pay attention a lot to the difference between the dates that you can that a client, say a retiring client, can access their RRSP, that's retirement registered retirement savings plan, their CPP, their spousal retirement plan, their RDSP, and various pension benefits. So and know the things that can prevent certain clients also from being able to access some other benefits, because there are times when if you access one benefit, it's going to prevent you from being able to access another benefit, and there are times that you have to be eligible for one benefit to be eligible for the other benefit. So know those kind of little details here and there. And I think right now that's all I can remember with respect to the exam. I believe that if you study at decently study, I think you should be fine with the exam. But of course, take it as serious as possible if you have the time. If you don't have the time as much, cover as much as you can, practice questions, and then go forth into the exam. I can almost guarantee you that you're going to pass. You're going to do well. How well you do well now depends on how ready you are, or how much attention you have to detail and stuff like that. So best of luck. And I would have wished to demonstrate what the website of the exam looks like, but I do not know what mode you might want to do. There are three modes. You either do the paper based, or you do the computer based at an exam center like Pearson View Center. In Thunder Bay right now, I do not think Pearson View has a center here, but I believe they do have one in Toronto and Calgary, and major cities like that. So if you find yourself in one of those cities, feel free to write those exams at those centers. um but being at home was more comfortable, even though I had to keep searching my surroundings. I had to scan my surroundings every now and then, just to make them understand that it's not as if I have plans to cheat or anything like that. So yeah, there's that. And for the online exam, I had to pay $90 extra, and I had to book at least a day in advance. You are required to book at least 48 hours in advance. So make sure that you pay attention to the fact that I think one of those things I made a mistake for was that I thought I could write my IFIC exam using the IFSE test mode. So I had already even done system verifications and everything for that, only to realize that it was not that one I was meant to use for the online version. It was going to be the on view. So the way to know is there's a section for there's a section. Let me go back into it. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there's a segment for exam info. So on the screen here, you can see the various exam formats. You could write the paper-based exam, or you could also write the exam center, the cyber version of the at the exam center. So on the screen here, you can see the various exam formats that you have, and the ones that are particular to the IFIC exam. You can see CIFC, you'd notice that under computer-based online proctored exam, it is not ticked. Under Pearson view, it's ticked, meaning that these are the modes that are available for the IFIC exam. And if there is no tick sign, if there is no tick sign on the under an exam format, it means that that particular mode of exam delivery is not available to that exam. So for the purpose of the IFIC exam, you have the paper-based proctored exam, you have the Pearson VUE computer-based test center proctored exam, and you have the Pearson VUE computer-based online proctored exam, which was the one I did. I did it, in the comfort of my room, with good lighting, stable internet, and you should be fine with that. If you are living in a place that is a bit remote from the major cities like Toronto, Calgary, and the likes, you could write it from home. And if you're in a major city, big cities where there are exam centers, you could decide to write it in person if you wish. That's up to you. Right now, you can see how you can, simulate how whether your computer is exam ready. So there's a website. It is going to bring you to this website here and shows you a link. You would have to create an account on OnView's website. So you click on Google OnView, just click on OnView website. Click on OnView website, register, and type the name of the exam that you would like to write. But remember that before you get to do all of this, you must have registered for the exam on IFSE's website. There is a place that says enroll for this course, but you are not enrolling for this course at this time. Instead, you are clicking on schedule for an exam. You want to click on schedule for an exam, and with that, you should be able to provide all the necessary information that they would require you to provide. You would pay about $90 extra, and then they would send you a link. And as long as you're computer literate, I think you should be fine with the entire process. But then you get to download, test the OnView if it works well with your laptop or your computer. You use the default code that you can find just to test it. You download the OnView app software on your laptop, and you run it. So when you run it, you begin to see something like this. So you check it if you've done everything, and on to the next thing. It shows you that it's downloading, and from there you get to see all of the system diagnostics being tested. So you on this left side where it says start microphone check, you click on it, you start speaking into your laptop or your computer, and as long as you can see a green sign or a red sign on the bar for the microphone, it shows that it's working. Once it ticks, green ticks, it means that the system is satisfied that your microphone works perfectly for the purpose of the exam. Your speaker is also going to read out maybe a song or something once you start the speaker check. So once the system is satisfied with that, it's going to tick it as well. You do the same for the webcam, and then once you are done with all of that, it will say it's downloading the exam files, and it's going to take you to the point where I cannot screen record anymore, because ideally during the course of the exam you're not supposed to be able to go outside of the screen of the exam. So yeah, with all of this, if you still have further questions, you can always hit me up. Just let me know, and I would respond to you in the comment section. Hey guys, if you found this video helpful, kindly like and share this video to your friends, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel to make this community grow. Thank you.